Okay, I love you.
I love you too.
I do. Anthony just brought me a little thing to clean my glasses because they
Oh,
get a
nice.
they get annoyingly like smudgy. I don't know.
I
You
know
you
that
wear
feeling.
you wear glasses, right? Well, you wear contacts
I
now.
wear contacts most of the time, but yes, I am familiar with glasses.
Yeah.
And no, I can never keep mine clean. That's
Yeah, I'm still a
part of the
relative
reason I
noob,
wear.
but oh, so annoying.
Yeah.
The reason you wear
Well,
contacts?
yeah, because a lot of the times I don't know if it's ADHD or what, but like I just don't notice my own dirt until it like is a lot. And then I'm like, oh, I'm a
Yeah.
horrible, disgusting human being. So
It
there.
gets there fast. Like
Hmm.
smudge, I don't know.
Well, especially if you
It's
have
just
kids
kind of
and
showing also the amount of like dander and grime and stuff that we pick up when you have something like this to like visualize it on all the time.
right, makes you want to wash your face more. You're like, oh,
Oh, that's
if
better.
this is what's on my face.
I was like looking through a bit of a haze before. I was like, is it foggy in here? Or is it just me? And it was just me.
It was just you.
Anyways, I see you got the white memo today.
I did. I did.
Yeah, yeah.
We
That
both
was
did the white.
unintentional, but cute.
White's always good.
It's one of my faves, even though it doesn't necessarily make me look tan, you know,
Yeah,
it's like the tannest I'm ever gonna look against something white. So
yeah. My husband always said like white makes me look like I boosted my mood and like it just makes you look shiny and happy.
happy.
It's like, oh, okay, cool.
I
I
like
like
it
being
too.
happy.
Yeah, right. You have a good week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Had my sister's weekend, so I went and hung out with my mom and my sisters.
What'd you
That was
guys
fun.
do?
We always go get like manicures and pedicures and go to an escape room and just hang
Always?
out.
Just normally?
Yes.
Reg.
Just
That's
normally.
awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And at the escape room, I don't think the guy thought that we were going to do it. Like when he's explaining it, he's like giving us hints like, okay, well, you guys are going to have to like,
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
and then we solved the hour-long room in 30 minutes. So suck it.
Mm.
Anyway,
I love it. I love it.
yeah.
And my
So we did pretty
sisters were doing it wrong. We need to be doing that.
good.
Anyways.
Well, I don't know that I contributed a whole lot. It's fun to just watch them and be like, oh, I'll bring you stuff.
No, I'm sure you
No,
contributed.
it's fun.
That'd be fun
It
though.
was good.
Who plans
It
that
was
stuff?
fun. Um, my mom,
Yeah.
we just decided, I mean, we all can like input stuff. We'll do 1 year where we go with just my sisters and my mom, and then the next year we invite like sisters-in-law and like the older of the granddaughters.
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway,
That's cute. That's
it
fun.
works. It works well.
Yeah, might have to steal that from you. We don't. I mean, me
Ew,
and my
it's fun.
sisters live way too far away to really do that, but if we did some planning, we could pull something off.
Yeah, I was gonna
Anyways,
say Melanie lives in Louisiana, so
yeah.
there's a way.
And she made it?
Hmm.
Nice. Good job, Lisa.
Nice. Oh, and my son ran in a triathlon this week, and it was fantastic. He did great.
Good job,
That
Cooper.
was our week. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
How
awesome.
was your week?
It was good. Band camp, work, stuff.
All
Yeah.
the things,
Yeah,
ending summer.
yeah, pretty much after we finish here today, then we're school shopping. So, because I think today starts tax-free shopping in Florida. So you can go get all your school
What?
needs. Yeah. Every state
Tax
should do this.
free?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
for,
they should.
yeah, so you can go get all your stuff that you need for school and stuff during
That's a
this
really
little
good idea.
time. Yeah, I like it. But because it starts today, we're definitely going to go out and do
Okay,
some
I will be there
shopping.
too. I'll come do my
Right?
shopping in Florida.
Right? All right.
Yes.
Anyways, okay. So
On to the topic of
we are
today.
finally doing what we were talking about last time. I
Hmm.
guess this is our book club for 1984. Got your
Mine's
book.
this.
Ooh, yours has a different cover. Hmm.
Mine's like an eyeball,
Nice. Mine is also like
right?
an eyeball.
Nice. Mine's blue.
I don't know how to book
Anyway,
club. But this definitely like got my head, you know.
well, 1984 is one of those books that everybody hears about and you're like, it's referenced a lot
Yeah.
and you just don't ever read. or maybe most people read, but I didn't,
Yeah, I
and I don't
hadn't
think you
read
did
it.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, "Oh,
So
you read
it
that
was
in high
time,
school." And I'm like, "No, I
but
I
I
went to
didn't.
seminary every day to learn the Bible, but no, I did not read any."
And I was in AP English and we still didn't read it. So it's all
Really?
good. Yeah. This
Okay,
was
so it
not one of the
wasn't
ones.
I just thought, wow, I like I don't know.
Missed it.
Yeah.
No, it just depended on what your teachers wanted you to read that year. I read books about people that turned into cockroaches and people that were hunted by other people, but I did not read this one. So
But now we finally can say we've read it and
we have read it.
understand people referencing it. So that's why we did it.
Okay. Do you want to get a little do
A
you
little
want to get
synopsis?
yes, a little synopsis and I'll fill in, I guess, or either
Sure, sure. Either way. I'll
awesome.
start. So the my synopsis of 1984 is that it follows
Winston Smith.
Winston Smith, who is a party member, but a low-level party member. And the party is essentially, it's the government. It's what governs everybody. And it's about
Basically a
his,
middle class citizen.
I guess, I we're gonna go off a lot here, but like I was relating it to think I was like, I think I'm middle class, but I was like
Yeah,
the I think that we're more the proles actually, because we're not
I
part
think
of the
we're middle
government. We're
class with
not.
the attitude of the pearls. But before we get too far in, because
Yeah.
okay, um, for those who have not read it, there will be spoilers and a lot of them. So
Oh
if
yeah.
you don't want to hear about it, press stop, I guess.
Yeah.
But I just started talking over the top of you. Do you care?
I don't care in the slightest. Please
Yeah.
continue.
So you have Winston Smith, who they have a government where they call Big Brother, like the I don't know if you would call it the president, but the great all-seeing leader is Big Brother, and he's watching you at all times. He can see your thoughts. They have television screens everywhere that are watching you at all times. They have people and mixed in with the crowds that are watching you at all times. They have hidden microphones everywhere. You basically know that you're being watched at all times. And the rules to the rules to the society are what? That you can't speak
They
out against the government. You
Well, yeah, we can't even think against the government because there are thought crimes. So
yeah,
it's that you have to be wholeheartedly committed to the the
the system and the
the
society that they've
system and the
created.
story that it tells, and you have to like two
Mhm.
plus two has to equal five.
Yeah, well, the government takes common sense things and it twists them and it to whatever is their benefit. This Winston Smith works in the department of what department is it?
I don't
I don't know
remember
what
what
the
it's
name is. Okay.
called
But
of changing
what
history.
he does, yeah, he changes history. So if something in history in their history books does not uh, jive with what's going on with what the government wants them to believe, he has to go through and change everything so that it does. Like who they are fighting in wars constantly changes. It's like they're divided into three sections: Oceania, um, East Asia, and Eurasia. Is
Yeah, and they
that
really
right?
don't know anything about the other ones. They don't communicate with them. You're in your own little world, and everybody else is painted
Yep.
as
And
bad and
when the
wrong.
enemy shifts from East Asia to Eurasia, it shifts all throughout history. Like we have always been fighting these people. It's been that way since the beginning. If you remember otherwise, you're wrong.
Well, yeah, because the
And
whole thing is he who controls history controls the future. And
mhm.
um
And he who can, okay, there's another part of that.
and he who controls what are you gonna say?
Oh, he who controls the past controls the present, and who controls the present controls the future, or something like that. Anyway, keep
Yeah.
keep
So
going.
it
Sorry, I
it, it
interrupted you
sparked no,
again.
that's okay. It sparked like a conspiracy theory, I guess, in my mind of
Yeah.
like the Mandela effect.
Hmm.
How there's so many things that we're like, oh, I remember that differently, but there is a clear answer to what it is. And you just have
Yeah.
to kind of like accept that. Now I'm of the mindset of like, I bet you a lot of things have been altered and erased because it didn't. I could 100%
Fit the
see that
narrative.
and believe that that is part of our current system and structure and that it is happening.
Well, I think yeah, it definitely happens. It happened. I don't mean to make everything about religion.
You said I
All
don't
right,
mean to bring everything back to
yeah, I
religion.
don't I don't mean to bring everything back to religion, but that happened in the church that we grew up in. Like, we were taught a very, very specific history of our church and things, and it was a very whitewashed version. And then as you're told things that have been pulled out of the history by people, or we chose to focus on other things. We chose not to put that into our history. We chose, yeah, to go around it. You're like, wait a second. Like, I need
Yeah.
all the information here. I
It's
need
pretty
all the
clear to
information
see that this has been put into play though, like pretty
in
actively.
a lot of different ways.
Like I remember
Um,
history in grade school. Like it was made to be fun. It was always like celebrating us as Americans. It was always
oh yeah, we never learned about us doing anything wrong.
no, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like history was like, yay, we have the Pilgrims and the Indians, yay, like we were
Yeah,
the pictures that were painted to us were completely fabricated as it or tailored. So that was definitely something that I was like, well, that's something that's happening, not in this exact way, but it's clearly something that's real.
yeah.
So I thought that was really
Hmm.
interesting. Anyways, we haven't
Yes.
even finished like the synopsis. Were we gonna do that
Oh,
real
the
quick? I
synopsis.
don't know. I don't know how this works, guys. Anyway, whatever. Keep going. Keep going. I don't know how to book
Well,
club.
no, I'll keep telling about it, and you keep interjecting with things, because the the way it is set up, this government society, it reminds me a lot of North Korea,
The
because North
surveillance
Korea,
state or whatever.
well, all of it, because North Korea, from what I have heard, I've obviously never lived there,
Yeah.
but the interviews I've heard with Yenmi, I always forget if it's Park or Peck, but she talks about how the government set up a story that is kind of like the Bible, where their dear leader is basically God, and his son, or his father, gave him to the society to lead over them, and then everything they do is monitored, everything they say is monitored. Neighbors turn each other in all the time, um, and like the dear leader is very, very revered. If your house is burning down, you save his picture off the wall before you save your own kids. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. It mirrored it very
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I think I had heard that
Yeah.
they because they see it work so well with other people within that religion that they could use it for just an
Mhm.
entire country, I guess. And that does
Yeah.
in the book there's a lot of that kind of people turning on people because that's how the party actually that's how it holds its power is that everybody is upholding its power, including the
Yeah.
children. That was one of the creepiest things in there was the that the kids were taught to be spies. So
Spies.
it gave them like a purpose and they happily would turn in their parents. And that one guy, he was even proud of his
Uh-huh.
daughter for turning him in because she was doing the right thing. But it was really people brainwashed into upholding a power over themselves. So there was no, like in the end, there was
Yeah.
no one big brother.
Well,
It's
we'll get there.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll get there. So, okay. So you have Winston going to work every day, rewriting history, not really thinking anything about it because that's just what you do. And the TV screens come on every now and then, and Big
Oh,
Brother,
oh
and
no, they're on all the time and you can't turn them off.
yeah,
That's a
that's true.
difference, which made me think a
But
lot
they
of
have,
our Alexas and stuff like that that are
yeah, which
ah!
is crazy for having been written in the 1940s. Like,
Uh-huh.
I it it blew my mind that it was that old. Like,
Yeah.
he could see it. He could see
Yeah.
what was happening. But yeah, the TVs are on all the time. They're always watching you, and they will have these broadcasts that tell you when to exercise, and they have something called the 2 minutes hate, where they broadcast like all the what do you call it, people against the government and the people who have done horrible things,
Just to
and
keep the people
talking about,
angry and incited.
mhm, yep. And um, in this society, you are basically you basically have an arranged marriage, and that marriage is solely to
Procreate.
um, to procreate, but you're also not allowed to be attracted to the person that you're married to. So it's a very, very dutiful thing, and that is all. Like it's
Yeah,
been drilled into you. They try to
they have the whole sexless like the league of
the
what is it?
anti-sex
The
league,
anti-sex league, which
anti-sex
very
league.
much made me think of like the groups where it's like I'm, the virgin,
Hmm.
like you're gonna make this, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a weird thing to just fucks with your mind, and I was
Hmm.
like, well, I definitely see aspects of that.
But like, no matter what rules you make, you can't regulate human emotions. So our our hero Winston here starts becoming attracted to a young girl that shouldn't say young girl, a young adult girl
Yeah, there
who
was a pretty big age gap.
there was a pretty big age gap, but she's not like 13.
Yeah,
She's
she was someone from work. It wasn't someone from
mhm,
the school that he taught or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
And the relationship is where I start seeing the 1940s come through a little bit, because back then men's and women's roles were very different. And I don't think men could really put themselves in a female mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a foreign territory. So some of like the writing about it, he's like, oh, it sounds horrible, but
When he's
he's
thinking about her at first, he doesn't know
yeah,
how to
he's
like react to what he's feeling, I think.
yeah, he shouldn't be attracted to her, but something about her he just can't get over, and he's like, I don't know whether to like rape her or kill her. And I'm like, whoa, well, that's unhealthy.
There's other
Oh,
options.
okay. Right. But I think in a society where you suppress human emotions like that, you do create that kind of feeling, like
Hmm.
an anger towards somebody who could possibly have that power over you, or who could make you feel things, or like, I have to get rid of this feeling. And the only way to get rid of the feeling is to get rid of the person. Like
Well, yeah,
it
at the
makes,
same time as we were being taught that our clothing choices and things were
mhm,
messing up their decision, they were being told the same thing. Like to go,
mhm.
you know.
Yeah. And
So,
and she was wearing overalls, and like it wasn't she wasn't putting out the vibe. It was just human nature. It
yeah.
was human nature. And so our hero Winston here starts having thoughts, and he goes into a store that's run by the lowest of the low class people, called the proles. And the government doesn't really care about the proles because they're uneducated. They are like trash. They're just
They're just
really
the
base,
people. They're
low.
just, which is like, what do they say? Like 85% of the population or higher, like are
Yeah,
proles. So it's the proles are just the people who aren't part of the government, in my mind.
yeah. But they're also not like organized or anything like that. They're
Yeah, they're
just they're
fed
they're just people.
the same propaganda, and they just
Hmm.
kind of like live to fulfill the purpose of,
Yeah.
oh,
Yep. But he goes into like a black market house that sells antique things, and he comes across a journal, an empty journal, and they're not allowed nobody's allowed to write anything. Um, and he's like, I'm gonna start writing stuff. I want to write. And so he brings it home, and he just starts letting his pen fly, and he just starts writing his thoughts about how um, his first thoughts are weird about movies that the government has put out that he's seen, and how he thought it was really funny when someone died, or like It's just showing that I don't know,
That he was
emotions like basically,
recognizing what
yeah,
was happening, and he was putting it
yes,
to somebody in the future,
yeah. He
essentially.
could tell something was off. He couldn't really identify what that was, but for some reason these things affected him,
Yeah.
I guess. Um, what comes next?
Well,
The girl?
I think so. Well, there's little things that happen like he receives his instructions on what to modify through this tube and that piece of paper that comes with like um which it seems like it's a mistake, but clearly it wasn't, where he sees three other people that he had known to be traitors of the party. And like it's almost like they were feeding him the doubts. Do you know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Did you feel that way?
Yeah. There was a few
At
times that
the
I did.
end that you, yeah.
Yes.
But either way,
So
yeah, at work, eventually she gets ballsy because she's interested in him because he's actually noticed her noticing him, and it makes him think that she's thought police. So he's thinking, like she's watching me, which is, kind of creeping him
this
out. But
girl
then
that
one
he
day she trips in front of him and he helps her up. And as she's getting up, she slips a piece of paper into his hand. So she's obviously planned this. And that's when they
Mhm.
start talking, and then they start um together start meeting up and stuff like that. And it's funny because she is like on the surface, she is a perfect party member. Like she does everything, volunteers everywhere. She's on the anti-sex league or whatever.
puts
Um,
up posters of Big Brother and gives
uh-huh.
speeches and
So she
does all
does
sorts
a
of
good job
things.
playing the part, but also
Mhm.
like is also a little
Little
more like
devious.
yeah, and free spirited.
Yes,
I'm glad Winston gets his time with her. They got to
me
live a
too.
little. Yeah.
He falls in love. They fall in love with each other and they have to meet up secretly. And together they kind of say, if there's two of us, there's got to be more of us. And they start thinking of, who else would be kind of anti-government? Who else believes in free thought? Who else has ideas and thinks that like remembers things that have been changed and wonders why. Like,
Like,
um,
did Fruit of Loom have
a
the
cornucopia.
cornucopia?
Did they have a cornucopia? Yes, they did.
Yes, they
Yes,
did.
they did.
Yeah.
Liar pants. Yes, they did.
Anyways,
Um, this the
sorry, I'm so
free thought is well, no, I'm like
sorry.
wording is hard for me sometimes.
Oh, me too.
Free
Yeah.
free thought based on like honesty and truth, whatever the truth is, even if it sucks and it's horrible, it's it's necessary. It's so necessary for your own sanity,
It's all that is life. They even say in the book,
for
like,
progress, for everything.
yeah, but your
We
reality
need truth.
exists in your mind. If you can't have free thought, you don't
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
You live somebody
Well,
else's.
okay, so going further, they find someone who's a little bit higher up in the system that kind of gave Winston a little wink and a smile as
Yeah.
he passed, as
Winston's
if to
been
say, like,
thinking for a while that and this character's
yeah,
O'Brien. He's been kind of picking up something from him, feeling like maybe he's giving him
he's a
some
kindred
sort of
spirit.
signal that hey, like I see what you're seeing.
Mhm.
So
Yes. So they decide they're gonna go talk to O'Brien, and they go to his office or mansion or
I think it
something.
was his home.
He's
Yeah, because his
yeah,
servant was
he's
there and everything.
that's true. He's clearly a high up, and he has the ability to turn off the screens and like speak candidly.
Hmm.
And so he says, "Yeah, there's an underground. There's a fight against the system. Are you prepared to be part of this system? Are you willing to give up everything for this system or for the for this new brotherhood that's going to overthrow the system.
Mhm.
And that's like music to his ears. And he's like, absolutely, I'll give my life for this. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll basically, he says, anything you say to do, I'll do because I know it's for the greater good. So he's like, I'll,
Yes.
kill, still, whatever, because it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how I turned my head and it's still right next to my microphone. Anywho,
Anywho,
um, long story short, O'Brien is the bad guy. Is that
yeah.
simple enough terms?
Yeah, but in that meeting, he told them, like I'm gonna come like at some point
I'm
in time
coming. Yeah.
I'll activate you and that'll mean the end of your life, like basically, that like you're committing to this brotherhood. And
Hmm.
he's like, you're gonna receive a book to read and you're only gonna have it for a short amount of time, and it's supposedly
Yeah. The
the
book.
book written by Goldstein, who is the face of the person everybody's supposed to hate,
Hmm.
the supposed leader of the
That's true. I
resistance.
almost skipped over the whole book. Good job.
Ooh. Yeah.
So he receives the book written by Goldstein.
Can I interject here? Where he
Absolutely, you
where he
can.
receives the book, that little shop where Winston got that first little journal he starts frequenting because, he's
Hmm.
he's thinking differently, so he's acting differently. He's not just following the script. And the guy above the shop, he has a little room, and ultimately through the course of their relationship, him, Winston, and is it Juliana? What's her name?
Julia.
Julia, there we go. Um,
Julia.
End up renting the room so that they can spend time together. And
Let's get it on.
the
Yeah.
shopkeeper himself has been like it seems like on his side, like he
Mhm.
seems
Giving
aware
them
that
a
he's, yeah, giving them leniency to like have I don't know, like letting it
have a
happen.
place away from the system.
Yeah. Anyways,
Anywho,
sorry. Now back to you.
you're good. Well, he takes this book from Goldstein, the anti-government literature that he should never have and that is super secret. And so he and Julia take it up and they read about um, how the government has used war as a way to keep people in line. They keep people afraid. They keep people focused on other things. And there's three different chapters. Do you remember the names of those chapters?
No?
Mm. Would you like to find them?
Yeah. Three different chapters, many parts.
Yes, three different parts.
I think they're all part 2 and part 3.
Well, they have names. Jesse, you can like take some of this out.
No, this is
Oh,
thrilling. Like this is
this is thrilling. Ignorance is strength, right? Is one of them.
Do I not have that in my book?
Do you not?
Tell me what page.
191. Um, so in Goldstein's book, the first chapter is ignorance is strength.
Oh, yes, the 3
And
chapters of
they
Goldstein's book. I thought you were talking about this book.
Mhm.
I am
Oh
not,
no.
Rachel's a little slow. Sorry.
No,
All
you're
right.
good. So
Yeah.
so ignorance is strength, which means that if you keep the people stupid, basically, then they're easily controlled. And um, that's how you keep control is keep people ignorant. That's you change the past, you uh, rewrite history, all sorts of things, and then people don't know what's right, what's wrong, and they can just
Yeah.
go on. Okay,
I
and then
highlighted a part in that chapter that
mhm,
I liked where it said the essence of oligarchical rule is not father to son inheritance, but the persistence of a certain worldview and a certain way of life imposed by the dead upon the living, which is what I feel like right now. I feel like I'm experiencing as someone who's not a member of like the Christian faith or something like that, who is holding on to like a revered worldview. But
mhm,
I feel like it's being imposed upon us by the dead essentially because they're who started it.
yeah.
I thought that was an interesting quote.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And there was a quote. I wish I could find it. Maybe I'll look for it. But there's a quote I really liked, and I will. look it up in a little bit. Um, okay, the other chapters are um, war is peace. So if you keep people afraid of different wars, and if war is a constant, then it keeps the people in line and peaceful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
a good description?
Let me see if I
And
can
then the
find it. See
last
if
one
I did any quotes in that one. Because I did.
mhm.
I went through and like tabbed it and stuff. Do you know where part
About
chapter two is?
no, the one I'm looking for is at the very beginning. Um, about halfway through, I'm like, dang it, I should have like had a notebook and just written all this stuff down because it was really good. But it was about orthodoxy. Mhm. It would be much better if I could find it, but I'm
That's
not
all right. Maybe you will.
going to.
I'll help you.
Just basically the orthodoxy makes it so you don't have to think for yourself. It gives you the rules so that you no longer have to like you don't have to wonder, you don't have to think. We'll tell you how to think and then you'll be okay. And I remember thinking that as a kid, like how
Yes.
great that I don't have to figure all this stuff out for myself because it's just laid out for me in rule form, which you know, does have benefits. That's how you teach your kids is like, hey, don't make the mistakes I've made. Learn from me. Like, you know what I mean? You don't want to have to make every mistake for yourself.
Yeah, but a lot.
But
Yeah. But
but to
honestly, I'm
just
actually of the mindset of like allowing people to see and experience these things that keep them from making large mistakes because I don't think you really
yeah,
can understand exactly whatever somebody else learned from a situation. Like, but I definitely
yeah,
remember reading that and I'm sure I like outlined it because I definitely
yeah,
think that about the current state of things, the
yeah.
current state of orthodoxy, people who are very orthodox and believe rigidly to their way of thinking and like they don't
Mhm.
have to think outside of that and they won't.
Yeah. Well, I think of it like a bird in a cage kind of thing. A
Yeah.
bird in a cage will be kept safe. I mean, depending on the outside benevolent, what's the word, owner, whatever, the higher power outside that's feeding you and taking care of you. Um, depends on that. But a bird in a cage will get water, will get food, will be cared for, will be kept out of the elements, and that kind of thing. But no bird that has ever been free would choose that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lot more dangerous out there. You have to be smarter. You have to understand the dangers around you. You have to, it's a lot more personal responsibility, but the exchange is, man, you get to fly, you get to choose where to go, your world is completely open, you get to try all sorts of different things, you get to, you know,
Yeah.
you get to
You get to live.
experience world, you get to live. But I mean, that's the handoff. You know what I mean? You get
Yeah. For
life in
some
a cage
people
is a
that
little more,
cage is comfortable and
hmm
I'm okay with
yeah,
people having that cage. If
yep,
I'm okay with people
if
choosing
that's
the
what you choose.
cage. I am only not okay with other people choosing the cage for me or anybody else. You can only choose the cage for
Or
yourself.
saying, or a view that says the cage is, there is only the cage. You know, pay no attention to the world outside. There is only the cage.
Yes, and that's
Like,
I think that's what this particular thing is.
mhm, yeah, I think so. I think, um, well, I'll get into that later. The third chapter in that book was Freedom is Slavery. And when O'Brien is, well, we'll get to that later, but it's also, it can be flipped. Freedom is slavery and slavery is freedom. So it basically goes back to if you are always told what to do, then you have the freedom to do everything in that box. You know, you have the freedom to act exactly how we want you to act
Yeah.
and in no other way.
Yeah.
So, um, yes, interesting. Anyway, so he reads these chapters, freedom is slavery, war is peace, ignorance is strength, and he starts feeling pretty good about it and he He's like, yeah, this makes sense to me.
Because it was
We
just
need
reiterating everything that he believed.
everything he already thought.
Yeah.
And so right after he reads this book, he's feeling pretty good, and all of a sudden the world comes crashing down. The soldiers break in, he finds out um there's been a television in the room the whole time that he couldn't see. He sees the guy he thought was protecting them, the owner of this little shop, is not who he thought he was. He's a member of the thought police.
Remember how he explains how he looked different?
Yes, that confused me a little bit. I was like, is it his son? Like,
No, I think it makes sense after you read the rest of it to imagine what he probably already went through because he probably had to go through the same process for
that
him
is true.
to look different, because one of the things that um O'Brien said is that we can make people look different or we
Yeah.
can I don't know. So it made me anyways, that's
Yeah.
just a random thing that stood out to
No,
me.
I did wonder about that. I was like, oh, how long has he been gone?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yes. So it turns out that O'Brien had been the bad guy the whole time, and he had been watching Winston for quite some time, like 7 years, and it was time for Winston's reformation. It was time for him to become a good party member. So they took him and they took Julia and they separated them. And then Winston goes through a series of torture and re-education.
Yeah, they're just in
Um,
jail alongside other people, but not together. Who are
yep.
all going through the same process, I think, or being killed. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, depending.
Who knows? Um, I wondered if some of the people they brought in to talk to him were just to get him to talk, basically, but I didn't know. It
Yeah,
never says. So
yeah.
that was just my own thought. But he at first he's brought in with other prisoners, but pretty soon he's taken to solitary confinement. He has no idea. There's no windows. The lights never turn off. He doesn't know if it's day or night or if he's been there a month or a year or no concept of time. And he's just basically tortured over and over and over. And he says, what's two plus two? And Winston says it's four. And he's like, no, if the party tells you it's five, it's five. Like, that's five. And basically just beats all free will out of him. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah. And the way that like they talk about that you need to break somebody down, it really made me think about what I've heard about like military training, when they go to the boot camp or whatever and
Mhm.
how they talk about it's so hard. And I guess it's a way that has been used to break them down and then build them up how they want slash need them to be for that particular
Mhm.
role.
Yeah.
I was like, I can see this is definitely something that is utilized and enacted in ways
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. You could see how that would work, I guess, in some sadistic way. Um, and basically they just re-educate him through I kind of pictured the machine from The Princess Bride. I've just sucked 1 year of your life away. How do you feel? Like, not to 50. Anyway,
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, they torture it out of him, and you can just see the thought processes that happen that just suck all of his free will away. And you get to he's he's tortured, his free will is gone, and then he's basically reintroduced into society as a zombie. Like he just toes the party line and just has no free will of his own. And then at the very end, he starts crying because he just loves Big Brother so much. Like it he he becomes touched by something that's said on the telescreen and he's just like, hooray for Big Brother,
He has accepted
And he's
the new
accepted.
reality so much so that he doesn't even know that he's accepted. Like it's just
It just is.
yeah.
It just is. Which I freaking hate because I am a Disney Channel Full House, everybody needs to have a good ending
Yeah, you're
kind of
waiting for the
person.
happy
It
ending.
it takes me like 3 times reading a dystopian book or something with a bad ending before I'm like, okay, I see it's not just a story. You know, there are lessons here, and those lessons are important. And it's anyway, I I have to overcome that part of myself because I really do love a good ending. Like,
Yeah, I
get
mean,
him, get
yeah.
him.
Yeah, right. But this
Yeah.
was a little too based in reality.
Hmm.
Because the whole process of him being broken down was O'Brien, I think, kind of showing how um we all are Big Brother. Like it's a collective. It's a um
They couldn't keep this going if we weren't compliant.
yeah, and like the whole brotherhood doesn't even exist. They create that to find people who are having weaknesses in thought so that they can, take them down a road and then
Mhm.
bring them
Re-educate
back
them.
because they used in that torture when he went to visit O'Brien and he made him make certain commitments saying I would do anything for this, I would kill for it, I'll
Yeah.
do whatever you say. Eventually he uses that against him and he's like, look, like, because the party is basically what's keeping everything moving. And you know I can't remember exactly, but you know what I'm talking about, how he played it back to him and it was his own voice agreeing to I would do anything for this, I would kill for this, and it's like you're the same, like you also, it's just whatever you think is right, so you have to think this is right.
Hmm. Yeah. It's just we may be fighting for different things, but we're both willing to do the same things for
I guess, yeah, like,
for our beliefs.
yeah. Another
Um,
thing that I during his like torture that I highlighted that stood out
yeah.
to me was this: when you delude yourself into thinking that you see something, you assume that everyone else sees the same thing as you. But I tell you, Winston, that reality is not external. Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else. And I like that's just so like in line with my current thinking that I don't know. I just was like
Yeah. Like,
struck by it, I
whoa.
guess. Like, whoa. Like you
Hmm.
like I don't know. I don't know how to like put this into words. But like nobody's the bad guy in their own story type thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're
Yep.
you're all willing to do whatever you have to do to get to this end that is so right in your mind, but it's there's not one right for everybody. But in the party and the way that it controls, there has to be
Hmm.
an answer. It doesn't matter if it's wrong. It's just it's true now.
Yep. Truth is malleable
Yeah.
and um, malleable and changeable. And then once it's put into effect, it is the absolute truth.
Yeah, and there's so many
There's no
times
other.
in history we can say that very important things have been modified. I mean, I know so many people, like they believe in the Bible wholeheartedly, but they believe in a version of the Bible that is not even the same as it used to be. Things have been removed, things have been changed, but it doesn't matter. It in its current form to them is an absolute truth. And that's
Yeah.
just that cognitive dissonance, or that like this is it, this is the holy book, and it's like that's like a fragment or a piece and changed, and
It's a book.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just that.
Yeah. And um, for those in power, the goal is just power and more power. And it's they're not fighting for wealth, they're not fighting for resources, they're just fighting to be powerful. They just want that power over others, which is so anti the way I think that it just It seems psychotic to think that way. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And yeah,
In this world, it does seem like the best off people are the proles
yeah,
because they're allowed a little more freedom of thought because they can't have as big of an impact as somebody who's within the party could if they were not aligned. It makes me think of the Project 2025 where they're trying, they're making sure to be ready with a lot of like-minded candidates so that when they come, somebody who agrees with them comes into power, that they can put these people into place who are already like-minded and to, get rid of people who aren't like, I don't know, it's
yeah.
all dictator
Well,
talk.
yeah. Well, I'm not opposed to people with differing views. I'm not even opposed to like
No, go ahead,
people
have
who
your
think
view.
like this government in 1984. It's just when you silence all other views is
But
where it
I'm
starts
against
to
this because it
Mhm.
demands that people be in a higher, like it demands people be underneath. Like it demands
Yeah,
that people have to be it like have
there has
to
to be a
participate
hierarchy.
in yeah, yeah, yeah. And nobody would mindfully choose the lower places, so they just have to keep them dumb.
Well, and I think there will in any society there will always be some sort of a hierarchy because you have people who are willing to do things that other people are not. I will never be an NBA star because um, half because of genetics and half of because I'm not willing to put into the Michael Jordan, LeBron James level of basketball work.
Yeah.
Like, so there will always be some sort of hierarchy, but the hierarchy should be based on like who's putting in the work, who's got the actual talent, who's like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, but
it
we know that's not.
and there should be, yeah,
Yeah.
and there's nothing keeping anybody from those high levels except themselves. You know what I mean?
True and not true. Look at a few
True,
examples right
true and
now.
not true.
Okay, who played Simba? Not the people who worked really hard and could actually sing, but a
Yeah.
star's child. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
happens all the time on the regular.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is if I was to create my own society, if I was the benevolent benevolent leader in 1984, my society would be just, oh man, I think about what the world would be if we all had access and motivation for education and for like we didn't have to worry about losing an entire generation of wealth by getting cancer or like knowing that everybody could go to college without having $500,000 in debt afterwards, those kind of things. What kind of cool stuff could we make? What kind of cool architecture and art would we have? What
Well,
kind of
if
like,
we could put us on a real level playing field, and let me give you a different, so this is like something I was thinking about this week. So when I was
yeah,
younger, I did put in the work for a lot of things. I feel like I
hmm
did nothing but I was outside, like
yeah,
trying to get better at, like, I know it was sports mostly, but like I played a lot of softball.
it's a good
I
example.
taught myself how to do a lot of like acrobatic type things on the ground and on the trampoline. Like I feel like if I had had training or a coach and could be like had the financial, like I feel like I do have that drive that I could have been something if I had like someone who also saw it in me and then could
hmm
like see that potential. I think
Yeah,
just because you have certain skills doesn't mean that it will be able to be grown.
yeah.
Like there has to be other factors in place. I was one of the youngest of 10 children. We lived in very small towns. There was no private
Resources were
coaching.
limited.
There
Yeah.
was no, yeah, exactly. So I'm like, no, I couldn't. And then I didn't have the internet. I couldn't just put myself out there. You know what I mean? Like, so I gave up on those
hmm
things very young. And I guess that's on me, but it was also just told to me it wasn't
Oh,
reality, and I believed it wasn't reality. So I never pursued those things. Cut to last week, I have this patient in my chair, and they are nice enough, but like nothing particularly great about them, Can't tell me
didn't
they
stand out.
didn't stand out. Then we start talking about their life. They've been RVing for the last 20 years, which is fun. They've seen everything. They've gone everywhere. They've done all these things and keep talking. And he's like, I think we're gonna go again. We're kind of getting a little antsy down here, but it's not a good market, so we'll probably just keep the house. I was like, well, you're renting? He's like, no. He's like, I've got houses. Like, I got one in Arizona. I got some really nice cars. And he's talking about all these things. I was like, oh, do you have kids? And he goes, got two, boy and girl, and they're in their 50s though, so they're probably. And I'm just like, oh wow. And he's talking about all these things. And I was like, oh, you could be like a superhero. Like, you could give that house to somebody. And he was just like, no, that'll go to my kids when I die. Just whatever, like. And I'm just like, so you are clearly generational wealth. He's not take he literally like mouth not in good condition. Not someone who is just getting up every day and actively working towards bettering themselves and like you just had this. This is just how he lives. And I'm like, so imagine like I was thinking at the time, I'm like, what could I do with this type of money? It has so much to do with what you are, like the level that you're at. He has all that and is choosing to do nothing. And I had nothing and was still trying to do everything, but we were still held in our status. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I was looking at him just like, you're
Yeah.
not fucking special. And you're literally hoarding things. And I'm like, I don't think like just and there's no way he's the only one who's like this. So there are just homes all over America that might be just owned by people who just don't need them in the moment and other people who just don't have and I'm just like, this I don't know. I don't know how to like
Feels wrong.
it does feel wrong. And it may I don't know. It just it just makes me think I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't just change your status. You can't just get out of a certain role. You can't just like, sure, some people do fight to get into like politics or things like that. But a lot of that, their parents were in politics. A lot of that, they came from money because you can't even be in politics without a shit ton of fucking money. Like our
Hmm.
world and everything and how it's controlled,
Yeah.
like just because it doesn't look exactly like this doesn't mean that we are not kind of living exactly this already. Just because we don't look like North Korea and the way that they are, like it's so evident,
Obvious. Yeah.
it's so obvious, doesn't mean that these aren't still things that are used to govern us today. Like I think
Yeah.
he saw the way things would go and
Yeah.
have gone and were going and just kind of was putting it down. But I definitely think I'm onto something with the Mandela effect because
Mm.
um yeah, like there are just too many
Explain further.
things. Well, just that it's like so many people they're like, "Oh, it's like we switched dimensions." And I'm like, "Sure, maybe we did, but also maybe that was just a change that was made on a grander scale to continue, you know, whatever the
Yeah.
current thing is, whether it was no, that has always been owned by this company, no, that has always been this, or whatever it was,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, to what end, but there still, I think, are things that are being changed. And history was never taught to us in any meaningful, real way. It was picked and chose to portray certain things, and it's just like,
Well, have you seen there were two things that popped into my head and only one I can remember now. Have you seen the I don't know if it's a YouTube video or TikTok where they have probably 15 different news sources, like
oh, and they're all saying
news
literally
channels,
the same
and
exact
they're
words
word for
verbatim.
word with the
Yeah.
same inflection and everything.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you can find that and put that here, but like when you hear that, you're like, oh, there are bigger things at play here. Like
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
there's
Does
a
it change my
puppeteer
day to
somewhere.
day? I guess not, but it's just
It's just
something, I guess,
evidence
I believe. Yeah.
that something's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that if
And
more people really did think outside of the comfortable box, then that might be good for the whole, but for so many people that box is good for them. So
Mhm.
who am I to say get out of your
That's
box?
dangerous. If you were to get out of the box and you were tortured until into submission, that doesn't sound very good either. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, thankfully that's not happening yet. You know.
Is it? Is
But
it?
then again, any like people in positions of like power, if they were to speak against certain people, I'm sure they would be at risk.
Yeah. Well,
Thankfully, we're
this is why
piddly
I
little
could,
nobodies.
right? I could never be high up in the government because I would like go through all the archives and be like, okay, so here is the bullshit involved with us going to the moon. These are the things that were and were not true. Um, JFK, assassination, all the things we have on that. Go for it. Have at it. Like
Just
all
make it
the,
all public and let
just
us,
make it
yeah.
all public. Like
The truth will set you
that
free.
it really will. The things we
Yeah.
could do if we had all the right information. Holy cow. When people just random people on TikTok are given information, they run with it and they're like, oh, like crimes have been solved by people that have just been watching TikTok and like watching little true crime stories, and they all put in their little 2 cents, like, oh, did you talk to this guy or ask him this question or where was it? You know what I mean? And like collectively, it feels good to solve things. It feels good to have the truth, and it does something in your brain to where it makes all the waves synchronize. You know what I mean? To hear truth. When you hear something that's not true, it I think of everything as waves, sorry. But like
That's okay.
it's like a bad chord on the piano or like an out of tune note or something. It's like
Just
something
hit you wrong.
is
Yeah.
not right. Yeah. And until that synchronizes and it's just like, oh, okay, this feels good again, your brain will try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Which is natural, I think. I mean,
yeah. Unless you have been tortured to death and all of a
then
sudden
you're
you're like,
dead.
and your brain is like, it is easier for me to fall in line than it is to think for myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, but now we have read 1984
Yeah.
and uh, I don't like dystopian societies. They're
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah. And thankfully, I mean, I don't think we're in a dystopian society, but I think there are
Mhm.
definitely lessons to be learned and things to be aware of.
Yeah.
Ignorance is
Yep.
not bliss.
Yeah. Ignorance is not strength.
Ignorance is not strength. I- Ignorance is,
Freedom is freedom,
yeah.
and peace is peace, not war. So,
Yeah, exactly.
mm,
Oh, there was this one, and I'm gonna find it really fast
okay.
because it was about just people all over, like how I always say it's like the leaders are the problem, not the people. And even in this book, it was like this party, they're always at war with it, but and all they ever see is like prisoners of war coming in. So like they just have a
Oh
disdain and a
yeah.
hatred for these humans who are probably just like them. But this line where it
Yeah.
said, everywhere, all over the world, hundreds of thousands of millions of people just like this, people ignorant of one another's existence, held apart by walls of hatred and lies, and yet almost exactly the same. People who had never learned to think, but who were storing up in their hearts and bellies and muscles the power that they would one day overturn the world. Yeah. So I don't know. I just I love TikTok and stuff
Um,
like that for this reason that I feel like it helps me see people and just the
yep.
people, just the humans, that we're all just
And
humans on a big flying rock, and
yeah.
the leaders are fighting over resources and being in control. But if
Yep.
we, the proles,
And we the proles of the United States. Um, with things like discrimination and like hatred of other people, that tends to disappear when you're with those people. Like when you actually get to know these people, when you
yeah,
actually interact with these people on a daily basis,
which is why I think they actively work
usually,
to keep people separated and put little things out there that keep
yep.
people mad at or separated. Yeah.
I have seen so many people uh, with good intentions in religion that are like anti-gay, we'll say,
Yeah.
and they're like very, like, of course, hello, Elena, but they're like,
Thank
of
you, John.
course that's not the way God wanted it, and they can convince themselves of anything, and they can make it sound like common sense, but then when
I
it's
do a lot of double think, which is in the
someone
book.
all of a
Heard what
sudden
I
you're what?
said? You froze for a second. I'm sorry.
No.
I said
Oh, sorry.
they do a lot of double think. thinking two opposing things.
A lot of double.
And yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
that made me
Or
think of
and
how I
then
used to think a lot.
they change their views.
I want to talk to her right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're pretty much done. And it's getting a little like cutty on your side.
All
And
right.
is it storming? Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Patience.
It might be.
Oh,
You need your turn now?
then I would just explode.
Oh my goodness, we don't want you to explode. She needs a turn.
Hi.
Hi, Elena, were you gonna explode?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me.
Okay, you said if she doesn't give me
Are you-
one now, then I'll explode. And I'm not going to explode, but now I'm not going to explode. So how
Oh, I'm
are
so
you?
glad. Oh, I'm so good. So good. I'm gonna go make some cookies. What are you gonna do anything fun today?
Yeah, but I want to see my friend Naya.
Ooh.
She's on vacation, so we're not gonna
Sounds
do that.
good.
But you know what we're gonna do? We're
Mm.
gonna school shop. Are you excited to start kindergarten?
Yes. I love school shopping.
Yes.
Do you already have your backpack? Gotta
You
get
do
your backpack and
right?
fill it with all sorts of stuff.
I think she just wants to look at herself and make faces now. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, hey, yay, we read it.
Sounds
We
good.
read a book. Maybe next time, let's,
We read a book.
we could do another one of these because I need to read more. Anyways, we'll pick a fun book and read it.
Oh, me too.
Bella's really into like
Awesome.
Fourth Wing right now. Maybe we can read one of those.
I've heard of that one. Mhm.
Have you read that one?
It is good.
Yeah.
I have not, but I have heard of it.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Anyways,
All right. Elena, the
1984.
exploding
Do we
one.
like it? Would you recommend it to anyone?
What? Say it again.
1984. I said 1984. Would you recommend it to anyone?
I think it's
What's your
good high school
overall-
reading. I think that's a good time to, kind of think about the world around you and be like, okay, is any, just
A little self-reflection.
it's fiction, but also learn to recognize where they're trying to teach you or tell you something.
Yeah.
Mommy?
Check the motivations.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Mommy,
it's
am I
always
gonna
a
tell you
pleasure to talk to you.
Okay.
Blah, 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 blah,
No.
blah.
You need your own
Yeah.
show, kid. Okay.
Mommy, Mommy,
Yeah.
Mommy,
Elena.
I better got a new app.
All right. Let me say bye to Emily, okay?
Mommy, we have a new app on our TV. We have to see how many likes we have.
Oh. See how many likes we have?
Uh-huh.
hmm It's fun to see how many likes you have.
That's lip stuff. Okay. Anyways. Well, I love you. I Lilas.
I love you too. Lilas, thanks
I
for reading
felt
with me.
a little more smarterist now that I could
A
say
little
I
more
read the book.
smarterest,
Most
which
smarterist.
actually is kind of the wording they use in the book. But yes,
Yeah.
a little more smarterest.
Okay.
You look beautiful.
Hold on. Makeup has to come do some adjustments. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. Beautiful.
I need a
All right.
makeup artist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm just, pretty big deal. Baby, that's enough. Okay. Thank you. All right. I'll talk
She
to
does
you
good work. She
later.
does
I
good
love
work.
you. Do you want to say anything else to
Lilas.
wrap this up? I'm sorry. Did you have any
No,
other thoughts?
just
No.
it was an interesting book. A lot of self-reflection and a lot of world reflection. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I read it finally. So thank
Yeah,
you.
me too. Yeah. All right. I got to
All
go,
right.
Mom.
Have a good
Love
one.
you. Lilas. I'll talk to
Awesome.
you
Love
later.
you.
Bye.
Lilas. Bye.
Subscribe up there.
Subscribe.
There's a subscribe up there.
Okay.
Like the button.
Okay.